When your relationship has hit its lowest point and you have that realization that you need to make changes, oftentimes we can look towards some of the traditional methods of repairing the relationship, things like couples counseling. But what a lot of people have found is that after a few sessions or maybe even a few months of it, the needle within the relationship doesn't seem to be shifting. Oftentimes people can feel even closer to a divorce or a separation. Going through the slog of couples counseling can feel exhausting and hopeless, like you've run out of options. So in this video, I'm going to break down the problems with couples counseling, why it's so ineffective, and what we can do to truly rebuild the relationship effectively. So starting couples counseling can feel like a last resort. You're not able to communicate effectively. Your relationship is usually in a pretty dire place. Plus, it can cost thousands of dollars, and there's always the risk of building more resentment between you both if it doesn't work. After all, it's a lot of money and effort. And a lot of my successful members have come to me after spending thousands of dollars on counseling that either worked temporarily or ultimately hasn't worked at all. They came to me as their last resort, and only then managed to make changes to their situation. So why is it that counseling can be so ineffective? Counseling can seem like a good idea. It feels tried and tested. It's the traditional solution. It's often the first suggestion that friends will give you, maybe try couples counseling. And the idea behind it seems pretty good, right? Someone's there to help guide you and guide the relationship in the right direction. Perhaps an affair has happened or divorce papers have been filed, there's stonewalling. The idea is that the counselor comes in and mediates and helps you guys learn more effective ways to communicate or learn how to be vulnerable and truthful with each other. But the truth is that couples counseling has a lot of flaws. Oftentimes, the main problem is that it's left to the last minute. So the relationship is already in a really, really dire state. So counseling can sometimes be useful as a preventative, but when things are already dire, the problems are usually years in development. Also, counseling is a very, very light touch. It's really, really slow. And because it's slow, it can take a long time to see any sort of results. So slow results means that changes in the relationship aren't usually really felt. It's kind of like a reverse boiling of the frog. Any changes will be so small that oftentimes they don't really become obvious to either party. So let's say one partner already has what's out of the door and they don't see any progress. They are looking for evidence that this isn't going to work anyway. And this is called expectancy bias. So expectancy bias is when we expect a certain thing to happen and we look for our own confirmation of it happening. And this can subconsciously cause things to happen. So for example, if your partner has a negative point of view of you and the relationship, they will be looking for evidence that the relationship can't be fixed. So even if you do go to counseling, they can constantly be looking for this evidence that the counseling isn't working. But one of the worst things about counseling is that oftentimes it doesn't really get to the root of any sort of issue. So the problem comes from counseling giving homework, right? They give these tasks that are often very surface level. They treat surface level symptoms of a relationship. So let's say one partner says, well, I don't feel like he listens to me. Then the homework that might be given to the other partner might be, well, once a week, let her speak for 2 minutes without any sort of interruption. And this may work on a temporary basis, but it's not really treating the underlying issue. At the end of the day, if one partner isn't wanting to listen, getting them to shut up for 2 minutes means that they still don't want to listen. They're just shutting up for 2 minutes. So it doesn't actually get to the root of any real problems. So it's constantly treating these surface level problems, which is why counseling can often be really, really ineffective. And because of this, the couple become reliant on the counselor sessions. They're constantly going back week after week because they're never able to get to the root of the problems. They're always chasing their tails, trying to find these solutions. So these counselor sessions only really help within that 1 hour a week where you have one good conversation, and then the rest of the week, it's the same old, because both partners only really feel safe talking with the counselor present. So because of this limited time, it actually disempowers the couples from being able to develop the emotional safety between themselves and also the intellectual intimacy to be able to overcome these problems. So couples counseling can be very, very flawed, which is why you can have these temporary reconciliations, but oftentimes the long tail of the relationship doesn't really last. So what is a more effective way of dealing with the challenges within relationships outside of relationship counseling? What can we do instead? And before we jump in, if you do want more videos like this, then feel free to subscribe to my channel for new videos every single week. So first of all, it's important to develop a long-term mindset and understand that 1 hour a week in counseling is not going to be repairing the relationship. It needs to be done in a much more effective and deeper way. What is happening now is the result of what has happened 6 to 12 months earlier. So repairing a relationship is like trying to turn around a cruise ship. You can't just turn the wheel and instantly expect it to do a 180. In order to turn the ship around, you need to be ready to be in it for the long haul. That first turn of the ship is going to feel like a big, big struggle. But this is a good thing because what you do now will affect what happens in 6+ months' time. Next, it's important to start to learn to become your own counselor. So even if you do go to counseling, the counseling will never be what repairs the relationship. It's always the work in between those sessions. Think about it this way. You can play a game of basketball every Saturday, but it's not going to have a huge impact on your performance. It's what you do in between those sessions that will develop your skills as a basketball player. So whether you go to couples counseling or not, it's important to develop those skills in between those sessions in order to make sure that you are effective when you do play those games of basketball, right? Next, it's really important to research and understand the root causes of relationship problems. So at its simplest, there are two main relationship problems. These are emotional discords and logical discords. So emotional discords are anything that has caused emotional friction between you both. And then logical discords are practical frictions between you both. So that's daily challenges, financial struggles, figuring out how to practically do certain things within the relationship. And it's really important to understand how these two discords interact with each other and how to approach each problem in the right way. And this is why there are actually two main types of counseling. There's emotion-focused therapy, and then there's solutions-focused therapy. And these are two separate logical and emotional couples therapies. So counseling usually only deals with one of these things, but learning to deal with both is really, really crucial in getting the relationship in the right place. So learning how to deal with both of these discords is crucial in order to become your own counselor and be able to develop solutions, emotional and logical, for the relationship itself. Because you'll be able to not only recognize which one is happening, but you'll also be able to approach the right discord in the right way. Next, it's important to develop the skills to understand and master expectancy bias. So if your relationship is headed in the wrong direction, expectancy bias will be one of the biggest challenges that you'll have to overcome. Understanding and developing the skills and mindsets to be able to overcome it, as well as subconscious tests that crop up, is crucial. And all of my successful members have mastered the understanding of expectancy bias in order to overcome it and finally lead their relationship in the right direction. And if you want to join those members, then join me on my free relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the tools and skills to overcome expectancy bias within your relationship and turn your relationship around. Click on the link in the description to grab your spot today. Next, it's important to begin crucial conversations outside of counseling. These crucial conversations are conversations that actively heal the relationship through the emotional discords and the logical discords. So it's important that you start having these crucial conversations and starting to repair the damage that has been caused to the relationship. And it's important to do this outside of the counseling sessions. Because like I said, if the emotional safety is destroyed within the relationship, having these conversations within the counseling sessions will only create the emotional safety within these sessions. So it's important to be able to start having these conversations outside of counseling in order to be able to progress the relationship forward. And it's really important to develop the communication tools to lead these crucial conversations in the right way, because these conversations can go awry very quickly if you don't have the right tools in order to navigate and master the expectancy bias that you're going to encounter. You know, during this entire time, while your relationship is going through struggles, your partner is going to be feeling hot and cold towards you. So it's important to understand and navigate these hot and cold behaviors within your partner. So if you do want to deeper dive into understanding and navigating this hot and cold behavior within your partner, then I'll leave you with this video right here. I'll see you over there.